The I'm gonna try not to name names because I seem to have messed everything up, but I've come to the realization from this other thing I just remembered. I remember getting a call from an elite and mummy god when I was in my room, and he went on about how they're trying to help this guy and do the right thing and just stupid shit. And I said to him, and then you're gonna find, I was like, and then this guy's gonna get fucked over and screwed the rest of his life because you guys had the wrong idea about his psychology because all you do is project because you're because you're narcissists. And an elite mummy god hung up the phone immediately. He then called back with another dude on the phone. Another guy who literally told an elite mummy god he was wrong about everything. Blondie was wrong about everything. In fact, every church leader that had analyzed my psychology was wrong about everything. And the whole core of this was this guy said the problem with you guys is you read that quote from Carl Jung that said every time somebody tries to analyze you, all they're doing is projecting. And he basically agreed with me when I said the comment. They what is it? They project onto you, and you know that because they don't have introspective. And then this dude, I'm gonna roll back to when I was president. When I was president, I had a series of animes made. And there was a Japanese show I didn't know anything about, but I also didn't care to watch the entire show. The only thing I knew is this Japanese show showed up in almost every anime ever. So I called a guy. I had the wives call a guy in Japan. So I could speak to them about this show. And I wanted an anime made explaining the show. Pretty straightforward. So I get to talking to the dude on the phone. And we start talking. He basically wants to know what the premise for the anime is, and I tell him I don't know anything about the Japanese show. I just want it kind of simplified into an anime form. So we get into discussion, and then I tell him about when I was a kid, I put a mask on, and I was fighting with my brother, and he kicked the little plastic sword blade off of my sword, and then he kicked me. And then I had a dream, and I went down. And when I put that mask on, I thought I was invincible. I thought I had transformed into somebody else. And I told him, I was like, for that 5 minutes, I was completely unstoppable. I was somebody else. I was whatever. I was like, it's a very, and he's like, yeah, you basically, he was like, yeah, you sound crazy. Anyways, so I explained to him that I believe that moment in my life was actually a serious development in my life because furries, clowns, whatever, anybody that changes their face, they're putting on a mask to be somebody else. And I explained that I've always just been me. Plain and simple. Whether or not people believe that, that's up to them. But, and the dude was like, oh, and when I spoke to him, I also explained that basically my entire life I had been overly parentified. I was always the adult. Even when I was a child talking to my parents, I was always the adult. Like, parents were trying to manipulate, they were being immature and everything. And as I was explaining this to this guy, the dude started kind of like, okay, like, basically don't, it's a thing with these people. Don't make your problems my problem. You're making me feel guilty because they don't know how to process anything. So I tell the dude, watch the original Japanese show and then watch the series. So he goes to watch the series and he immediately has a problem. He calls me and he's like, it's terrible. He's like, it really is. The show is out of date. It's old. The acting is awful. The effects are awful. The fighting is awful. The stupid things the characters do is awful. And I tell him, stop. I was like, you're not here to judge the show. Imagine you're a child watching this show for the first time. I was like, I told him when I watched the Power Rangers, when they did the poses, I would do the poses with them. And the guy was like, yeah, but the show was so horrible. And I was like, no, I was like, I want you to imitate being a child. I was like, you are a child. I was like, no, no. You are a child watching a show. You're going to go in the room. You're going to have candy. You're going to have soda, whatever. You're not going to sit like a man or an adult. You're a child watching a show, and you're taking it in for the first time, because this is the only way you're going to fully understand what I'm talking about. And the guy was like, okay, basically he needed permission to be a child. And I gave him permission to be a child. So, he thanked me. And he went to watch the show, and then he asked me if there were other childlike activities he could engage in. And I told him he can engage in any childlike activity as long as it's not sexual. And then he told me his wife thinks he's lost his mind. And I was like, yeah, well, people change, things change. And then he called back, and we spoke for a while. And I talked about the integrated truth of the child. So, flash forward to when Anal Eating Mummy God called me in Ackworth. And he said, the guy said that they're all wrong. And everything they're going to do to you is wrong. They're going to take a man who's already a man and try to make him develop into a man, and there's nothing to develop into. You're just going to make that guy develop psychosis. He's going to go crazy because he's not going to think he's enough when he's already a man. And that's going to be your guy's fault. And I spoke to this guy in depth about this subject, and he told me he didn't care about any of the shit I failed at. He didn't care about any of that stuff because I said it a million times when I was president. I am not responsible for your actions. This forces agency onto a person. And he told me he didn't care about any of that shit because the problem with what these people were doing was as plain as simple as, I am a man that needed to learn how to be a child. And he explained that that's why I didn't take Stu serious when he made threats, because it's immature. That's why I refer to the cannibalistic serial killers in this church as edgelords. I took, even this, in my brain, I'm being the adult in this situation. Like, everything these people do is stupid and immature. And even what they want me to do is immature in my mind. And the dude on the phone was like, basically, I'm gonna make this anime for you. Just watch. And then he sent me a mask. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, Blondie stole it. But he sent me a mask. And Blondie, when he stole the mask, was explaining to me that guy is wrong. And Blondie's right about everything because his ego's so big, he can't admit when he's fucking wrong. Now, that's not what he said, but that's what he meant to say. And this dude, the guy I spoke to, when I put the mask on, I was suddenly fucking transported. I guess it had lined with LSD. He did a thing. And he showed me. And basically, it kind of ended with the kind of Yondu and Rocket thing. You are me. Like, me and you are the same person. And he expressed that, basically, when he was a kid, he was never allowed to be a kid. Basically, when he was a child, he was never allowed to be a child. Until I called him and wanted him to make an anime about a child's show. And he got to experience what it was like to be immature. He got to experience what it was like to have a childhood, even though he was in his 40s. And he told me that there's many things in the world you don't know you need, but sometimes when you get that thing you don't know you need, there's something that comes over you. And it's just different. Yeah. To that guy, thank you. Thank you. Everybody on the planet wants to pretend there's some kind of snowflake, there's some kind of unique problem that can never be solved, some type of Zooble from The Amazing Circus, something that's so complicated and beyond. We're really not. Nobody really is. The fact is everybody's been doing the same stupid fucked up shit to each other for a long time. And I think about how I think religion is immature. Like even I said Peter Pan. They're all Peter Pans holding a sword, and everything's under the threat of death because they're terrified. And because they're terrified, they project that onto you and go, you're terrified. And then you go, shit, yeah, I'm terrified. You have a gun pointed to my head. Of course I'm scared, but I'm scared now. And that makes that facetious. But these people don't know when they're making it facetious. They don't understand that they're threatening you. They don't understand anything they're doing because, one, everything is the same in their brains. Everything is Carl Jung talked about integration. Integration, if I had to explain it, means properly looping things correctly. These guys' brains aren't integrated. They're like somebody took a sheet of tinfoil with a series of rooms that were separate and then crushed it together. The integrated brain, everything works in its integrated state. An example of this is my dad's crappy Cherokee out there. There was a power steering integrated system with the cooling fan, and it had this special part on it. And we don't have that thing anymore, but when it did have that thing, that part was integrated into the power steering, which caused the fan to spin and cool the engine. Now, the engine no longer works properly because it doesn't have that integration. Yeah. And yeah. And this is the thing, like, this is two paths to achieving the same thing, the sense of completeness. But even though I'm gonna murder every woman you like, you're immature. You're a 2-year-old. You're a fucking 2-year-old. And on a side note, honestly, in every story where a man has sex with a woman, the story of Perseus and all these things, the whole symbolism is that man is transferred from a child to a man. But I don't know exactly what you do for somebody like me, where they're already a man and they need to learn how to be a child. And think about it. I hate emotionally stunted, and maybe the truth is I'm actually jealous of it. Maybe I just want to be a child. Yeah.